I made a tier list of the best items, maps, and everything else in Deceit 2 from my expertise. Also, at the end of this video, I will show you the best items to get for each role. So as you can see right here, we have the tier list. It goes from S to F. S being like the best out of the best. It's absolutely needed. It's the greatest. A being really good. B being good. C being mediocre. It works. It's alright. D being slightly bad. E being bad. And F being absolutely terrible. So the first thing we're going to be ranking is the roles in Deceit 2. So I'll start off with the infected. Right now, it kind of sucks to be the infected because it's super easy to catch the infected. I made a video about the easiest way to win Deceit 2 as human, and like the only way to counter it is to have a bot lobby or altar rush. That's a good strategy. But all the other strategies as infected don't really work. I'll put infected at E right now because Deceit 2 is so innocent-sided. Inquisitor, I'm gonna put this one at C. You can see altars from across the map, which is good to like catch the infected, but that's about it. All right, the Warden, I'm gonna say I have to put this in A, just because Deceit 2's community has a lot of trolls, and having the watermark ability where you can just vote out someone real quick, you don't have to worry about trying to get everybody to vote them. It just speeds up the process so you can win games faster and just to win games in general. All right, the Seer. So the Seer, it's kind of useless because you can just follow people in the in-between. If you have good settings, you can see the shadow players in the in-between. But how the Seer is useful is you can see multiple players in between. So let's say everybody's in a big group, you can like guard that group to see who will transform. Or let's say you already cleared somebody, like you're following someone and two monsters have transformed, you can leave that person and go find another person to use your Seer ability on to clear them. Because of that you can clear multiple people at night. It has to be B tier. All right. So next, the Mimic. I gotta say, it's pretty good. Having to switch to a new role makes the game a lot more interesting for the infected and the human. The human can use this role to like catch the infected at the very start. If you know what special roles are in the game, which the Mimic can figure out, that can speed up the process of the game a lot. It's definitely S. We got the Chemist. The Chemist, it's really hard to use, but with like recent updates where you're allowed to poison multiple people in the rate at which poisoning happens, it becomes really useful. If you have a bot lobby, this is really good. Or if you have a lobby where the players don't get heat goggles, they don't get adrenaline sticks, and they rather get cameras and flares and stuff like that, it can be very useful to get wins. So I would say for the Chemist, it goes in B tier. Next, we got the Soulbound. The Soulbound is a very tricky role because if you soulbound people too early and the effect is not good enough, you're basically screwed. But it's still very useful and you can get wins with it. So I'll put it above the Purifier. The Phantom. The Phantom's actually really good with all these trolls lobbies because people will just vote you out right away. So for the Phantom, I'm gonna put it A tier. And that's the tier list for all the roles. Next up, we have general items. All right, starting off with the gun, S tier. Of course, you gotta down people to play the game. It's a big part of the game, so it has to go S tier. Heat goggles. Heat goggles are very useful for human role, but infected is not so useful. Since it's not that useful for the infected, I would have to put it at B tier right here. Next, we got the camera. The camera is very useful for getting the monsters away from you. I would say it has to be the best light item because you have 5 charges, and that's different from like the flare, which is only 1, and the traps, which is 3. But the torch, you can get like 10 tries out of it. You can flash the terror 10 times out of it, or even more if you're good enough. But the bloom on it is not very good, and if the effect is good enough, they can like outplay you and not get flashed by the flashlight. I'll put the camera at A tier, and since we're talking about the flashlight, I'll put it right here in C tier. Ball and chain, F. Why is it in the game? You know, this would be good if like you can use the ball and chain like across the map, like you have a little tablet and it chains players. But since you have to go up to them and they know you ball and chain them, it's just like a negative item. If you use a ball and chain, you're just sussing yourself and it's not that useful. All right, the smoke grenade. Same thing, there's like no situations where you need to use it. If you're like about to get caught, you could throw the smoke grenade and run, but people will see that you throw the smoke grenade, and if they're good enough, they'll shoot you. So instead of buying the smoke grenade, you could rather just run away in those situations because that's better. So yeah, this is F tier, but it's better than ball and chain, so I'll put it right here. All right, the flare. Most people like the flare because it's pretty simple to use. You just throw it down and you won't get attacked, but it's better just to get more skilled and use the camera or the traps. There is a situation like when you grab the escape key, you could use it there, but if you have a full camera, that's probably better than using a flare, but it's not like the worst, so I'll put it at the top of E. All right, adrenaline stick. This is very helpful for like grabbing the escape key, alter rushing, or trying to catch the infected. This item gives you a huge advantage, so it has to go A. Next, we got the teleport pad. The teleport pad is really useful, and ever since it got buffed where you can't destroy the teleport pad, it's even better than it was. This item is very useful. I would say has to go B tier. All right, bandages. Bandages are very useful if there's chemist, but even without a chemist, you can still use them to win more 1v1s and help you in fights. But I would say it's not as good as the teleport pads. Low B tier. The mask. The mask is very useful as infected, but as human, it's not that useful. You can try to use it to figure out who the infected's partner is, or you can use it to like hide yourself as the guardian. There's a bunch of plays at the in between you can use the mask for, but during the daytime as human, there's not a lot of plays you can use. So it's really good for infected, really bad for humans. So I have to put it C tier. Handcuffs. They are very useful for catching infected, and especially in like a 1v1 situation where you're in the final 3, you can use the handcuffs to clutch up. So because of that reason, it's going behind the bandages. Walkie-talkie. The walkie-talkie used to be not the greatest item, but ever since it got super easy to catch the infected, this item has gotten exponentially better for the humans. While for the infected, it's probably the worst item that you can get because you're just sussing yourself out. So for that reason, it's going D tier. Invis. Invis is useful for infected and humans. You can use it in the in-between, in a 1v1, while running away, while hiding. It has so many uses. I'm gonna put it at A tier, above the adrenaline and above the traps. Next, we got the bag scanner. F tier. It's useful if someone has a mask. That's it. There's no such thing as, oh, they have sus items because they bought a adrenaline stick and a pistol, so they're infected. You're not gonna figure out they're infected by the bag scanner. It's really only useful if you're chasing after someone and you think they're masked, so you pull it out instead of shooting them and you scan them. Like, there's no use of using this. All right, knuckle thrusters are pretty good, especially with troll lobbies where you're gonna be fighting a lot. So knuckle thrusters are pretty good. I'm putting them at B tier. Here is the tier list of every item in Deceit 2. Gun at the top and bag scanner at the bottom. I'm gonna speed run this with both the innocents. That's the tier list for humans. All right, for infected, gun S. That's for infected. Gun, S, and next headphones and walkie-talkie all the way at the bottom. Put the walkie-talkie down here. You gotta stash it right away if you get a walkie-talkie. Next, we got maps. I'll be ranking maps on how even they are for the infected and the humans and how much content there is on it. So starting off with the Project Origin, it's a bit on the human side with all the areas being connected to each other, very close proximity. It's not as big as like Millhaven Asylum, but it's still a pretty good map and it's pretty even. I'll put that at A tier. Next we got the Manor. The Manor is so bad. I think the confession booth is a bit interesting. It adds a bit dynamics, but besides that, how its layout is and how it's formed is very weirdly made. Like the central area of it, where the bathroom is, the room is, the chandelier, that area is so messy, and you just go around in corners, you go around in circles. It's very bad. So I'll put it E tier. It needs a rework, especially how it's laid out in the middle area. All right, Millhaven, S tier. Best map, especially with the new update where you can go in the basement faster, which helps with catching people in the elevator. I think that's the best map change they've made. It is slightly infected advantaged, but it's still a good map. So if they like make it a bit harder for infected, it would be an excellent map, like above S tier. Yeah, it's the best map that we have, and currently it's the best map we've ever had. All right, we got the Circus. I think the Oracle is very OP, and overall the map is a lot more human advantage because it's very circular. It's very predictable to catch the infected. So for that reason, I'm gonna put it at C tier. It's not as horrible as the Manor. We need a bit of room between that, but we also need a bit of room between Project Origin. It's not as good as Project Origin. So here's the map tier list. All right, here's infected characters. I'll be ranking them on how good they are, not how much I like playing them. All right, first we got the Experiment. It's like an alright character. You can catch players pretty fast in between. There's some strategy you can use in it. There's some skills, like you can break a wall and speed off of it. You can move with it pretty well. All right, but now we have the Werewolf. The Werewolf's A tier. Very useful for newcomers. There's just not a lot of strategy you can use with it. You just run and grab the players, but it's very useful at doing that. Now we got the vampire. I wouldn't recommend the vampire for new players, but if you're able to learn like maps and how it's laid out, where the teleporters are, vampire is very useful in catching players, but it's a really hard skill gap. I still have problems using the vampire. All right, the monkey, you can use the teleport. That's pretty cool, and you can strategically place it, but I would say it's not as good as the werewolf because it's not that user friendly, and still even when you master it, it's about the same level as using the werewolf when you're trying to catch players. So that's the tier list for the roles. There's not really a lot of bad roles. These two, they just need to add more content, I guess. These are a lot basic and not the greatest. And next for the monkey, if they want it to be S tier with the vampire, they would just need to buff it. This is the only one I feel like they need a buff. The other two is just the base idea isn't good enough to be as good as the vampire. Now I'm going to be ranking the best items to get for specific roles. The best thing to get is a gun. The first thing you want to buy. If you get it as your free item, that's great. But if you get it as your second item, that's also helpful. This year you want to get a camera because you're going to be running around in the night. You're going to get drained a lot of sanity on you, so you won't have a lot of sanity. So you need camera. Next you need a sanity serum, and next you need adrenaline stick. For the warden, you also want to get heat goggles because if you catch infected and kill them and warden mark them, so they're just out right away. You don't have to worry about one infected or one cursed. Adrenaline stick, that also helps find them. Next camera to help you in between, and flare, that's probably if like you already caught one infected and the cursed. You just need to grab the escape keys. Because the infected's doing nothing and you can't get information, the flare might be useful, but it all depends on the situation. Next we got the purifier. You want to get sanity serum and camera because you're going to be low on sanity. The camera will help you in case they attack you. Same with the traps, that'll help you. Next the flare will help you escape. So very helpful loadout. Alright, the medium, you can use a walkie-talkie to clear a player, and that'll help you a lot in narrowing down who to go after. Sanity serum allows you to stay alive, of course, and next heat goggles. For this role, you most likely get more information with the walkie-talkie and your ability, so you can use the heat goggles to catch the final infected. Alright, the mimic just depends. You should probably get the gun and invis right away because those are very versatile. But if you decide to go human, you might want to buy the camera and buy sanity serum so you survive it in between. Or if you decide to team with the infected, probably knuckle dusters and handcuffs. Next adrenaline stick at the very end in case they try catching you. Alright, for the chemist, you probably want to get a camera because that's very useful for staying alive in between. Invis is very useful when you poison all the players. So let's say like you have a troll lobby, you poison them early, you might want to get invis. Teleport pad is the same reason, and handcuffs is in case someone attacks you or runs towards you, or if they're about to grab the escape key and you want to use a handcuff on them. Alright, so bound, you can use a walkie-talkie. This is an OP strategy. What you want to do is give a walkie-talkie to a random person, probably human, that might be better, but you do this so they can trust you. And if you soulbound another person, so you will have your soulbound partner who trusts you, and not only that, you'll have another person who trusts you on the walkie-talkie. And if they try sussing to your soulbound teammate, you can say, oh, I cleared them, I'm like the seer, or make up a lie. So this is very useful for the soulbound. This is OP strategy I don't think anybody's using. I might be the first person talking about this. Alright, next camera and sanity serum to stay alive. You might want to use these before the walkie-talkie if you're getting targeted, but these are interchangeable. And next a handcuff in case they're going to grab the escape key. Alright, for the phantom, you want to stay alive, you get a camera. Next you want to give a walkie-talkie, kind of the same reason as soulbound, but you don't want to talk in the walkie-talkie, so you want players not to trust you. So you give a walkie-talkie just for someone not to trust you. This might backfire, so I wouldn't recommend to use this all the time, and you gotta be careful on who you're using it on. If you don't see like a very bad player in the lobby, just don't use this strategy and just switch to the tracker or switch to the invis. Those are very useful for getting yourself sussed. You can use the tracker to track players right before you die and to catch them. And next you can use the mask at the very last minute to like suss yourself out. This is useful if you're like very desperate to like mask yourself as somebody and just get down. They'll be more likely to vote you if they forget about the phantom, but they might figure it out if you use this. So only use the mask if you're very desperate. I went through the best items to use and the best tier list from my expertise.